Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Saving with Appliances webinar. My name is Beth, and I will be your host today. We would like to start with a safety moment this afternoon. Safety is a core value at PGE, and we want to remind you to be safe around electricity. As you consider installing or retrofitting new equipment, please keep safety in mind. We also encourage your family, tenants, and staff to be prepared with an outage kit. You can visit our website for more safety information. For today's webinar, Portland General Electric has teamed up with Metro Multifamily Housing Association, whose new name is Multifamily Northwest, the Energy Trust of Oregon, and the Regional Water Providers Consortium to offer multifamily property managers and owners 7 free seminars and webinars on proven strategies for saving energy and water, cash incentives, and available resources. Today's session is the third of the series of the webinars. Attend one or all and learn how to reduce operating costs, improve tenant comfort, boost retention, and improve your property's sustainability. All seminars and webinars are free and qualify for Oregon Real Estate Continuing Education credit hours. Before I introduce the presenters today, I'd like to show you some tools you'll be using during the webinar. To the right of your screen, you'll see several windows. The participants window, the chat window, and the polling window, which will appear at the end of the session. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can submit them to me, the host, through chat, and the instructors will answer them at the end of the webinar. Because this will be an informal session today, if you'd like to share an example or you have a question you'd like the instructors to address immediately, please feel free to raise your hand using the raise hand icon provided at the bottom of the participants window. Also, within a few days, we will send you a follow-up email with a recording of the session and the PDF of the materials. And now I'd like to introduce today's presenters. Lindsay Berman has served as the Regional Water Providers Consortium Conservation Program Manager since 2002. She's responsible for developing and delivering water conservation education and outreach programs and services for over 20 water provider municipalities, serving Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas counties. The conservation programs which Lindsay manages include the Multimedia Regional Conservation Campaign, the consortium's website at www.conserveh2o.org, regional events and workshops, development of educational materials, and water conservation assembly programs for schools. Our second presenter this afternoon is Nick Michel. He's the Business Development Lead for the Energy Trust Multifamily Program. He currently works with trade allies, property management firms, property owners, and multifamily organizations across the state to promote energy efficiency products, services, and education. He has over 5 years of experience working within the energy efficiency field, assisting owners and contractors navigate the ever-changing energy landscape. Prior to joining the Energy Trust, he worked closely with Energy Trust HVAC trade allies to engage the Portland metro market in energy-efficient HVAC choices. Isaiah Cox, our third presenter, is our demand response specialist at Portland General Electric, where he manages programs designed to help customers lower their energy costs by reducing their energy use when demand is particularly high in the region. Isaiah holds a degree in construction management from Northern Arizona University, and has worked as a construction project engineer in Nevada, Arizona, and Hawaii, as well as on a leadership in energy and environmental design Gold certified dormitory in Portland. Isaiah has worked in the utility industry since 2009. And now I'd like to turn the presentation over to our first presenter, Lindsay Berman.
Thanks, Beth. Good afternoon, everyone. As Beth mentioned, my name is Lindsay Berman, and I'm the Water Conservation Program Manager for the Regional Water Providers Consortium. In my presentation today, I'm going to talk about some simple ways that you as property managers can reduce your property's water consumption and ultimately save some money, which I know you're all probably interested in doing. My presentation is going to focus on the WaterSense label, the difference between the WaterSense label and the Energy Star label, potential savings with WaterSense products, and also savings with free conservation devices and rebates that are available to you through your local water providers. Throughout the presentation, I'm going to reference resources available from your local water providers. If your property is located in the Portland metro area, there's a really good chance that your water provider is a member of the Regional Water Providers Consortium. So as you'll see on the listing to the right, the consortium is made up of over 20 municipal water members. And as a collective organization, we pool our resources in the areas of conservation education, emergency preparedness, and regional water supply planning. Many of the conservation devices, the rebates, and the information materials that I'm going to reference today are available to you for free from many of your local water providers. So be sure to contact them directly for additional resource assistance. You can also locate this information on our conserveh2o.org website. Okay, so let's begin and look at the indoor water use. Americans on average use about 100 gallons of water per person per day. In Portland, that average is a lot less. It's about 60 gallons per person per day. And if you look on the graph here, you'll see that toilets account for the highest water user in the household, about 27% of indoor water use. Next, followed by clothes washers at about 22%, showers at about 17%, and faucets, this includes kitchen and bathroom faucets, at about 16%. So if we look at the toilets, the showers, and the faucets combined, we're looking at about 60% of the total indoor water use collectively. So for the greatest impact on water savings, with the least financial investment on your part, I'm going to focus on these three areas. So most of you are familiar with the Energy Star label. You see this on lighting fixtures on windows, furnaces, refrigerators, clothes washers. This label was introduced in 1992. It's a joint program of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Department of Energy. Products that have these labels on them, products and appliances, get tested. It's a voluntary testing and labeling program. So if you see a product or appliance that has this label on it, you know you're getting a trustworthy label for energy efficient products and appliances. The counterpart to that label is the label off to the right, which is the WaterSense label. And this label you'll see on products and appliances that deal specifically with water savings. The WaterSense label was founded in 2006. It's an independent, third-party tested and certified program. The testing is based on performance and efficiency criteria. So when products carry this WaterSense label, you're going to get at least a 20% more efficiency rate on a WaterSense product versus the regular standard products and appliances without sacrificing any performance. So you want to look for that label. So in this presentation, I want to focus on bathroom faucets and aerators, shower heads, high-efficiency toilets, and I'm going to touch briefly on the weather-based irrigation controllers. So if you remember on the graph, 16% of indoor water use came from the faucets, and that includes kitchen and bathroom. But if we're looking at WaterSense bathroom faucets and aerators, prior to 1992, they weren't introduced at that point, but before 1992, the standard faucets would use anywhere from 5 gallons of water a minute or more. So they used a lot of water. And then in 1992, when the plumbing codes changed, that residential standard dropped to about 2.2 gallons per minute of water. WaterSense faucets and WaterSense aerators drop even more. You're getting about 1.5 gallons per minute of water saving. So basically a 30% more efficient rate on a WaterSense bathroom faucet and aerator versus a standard model. Now the consortium, our group, we offer high-efficiency aerators, and they're at 1 gallon per minute. So they're less than the WaterSense, but they are not WaterSense certified. Many of the water provider members provide these to customers for free. So I would encourage you to contact your local water provider and see if these are available. you know, again, you're going to get about a 30% more savings just by retrofitting your old faucets with a high-efficiency aerator. Real easy to put on. They basically, the tip screws off the end of the faucet, you screw it back on, and you're good to go. Real briefly, the faucet aerator, they operate by their function is they reduce the flow of water from the faucet by using air to maintain a strong water pressure. So you're saving water, but you're still getting a good pressure. Now, WaterSense does not label kitchen faucets or kitchen faucet aerators. And the reason is that the reason why these have been excluded from the WaterSense label is because the user has different expectations and needs. With a kitchen faucet, you need to rinse dishes and fill containers, and these are tasks that require a much higher volume or flow rate. So for example, a quart pot would require you to about 5 gallons of water to fill that pot. So by reducing the flow rate, it would take a lot longer to fill, thereby creating issues of user dissatisfaction. So this would be counter to the WaterSense program goals of increasing efficiency while maintaining performance. Therefore, they're not currently labeled. That said, a standard kitchen faucet flows at about 2.5 gallons per minute. The consortium, our group, the water providers, do offer kitchen faucet aerators that flow at 1.5 gallons per minute, and these again are offered free by local water providers. So I'd encourage you, to contact your local water provider and see if these are available. If you have to purchase them, they're an inexpensive purchase, about $1 to $5 each. Shower heads. Now, showers account for about 17% of the indoor water use. It's the third largest water user in the household. And an average American will shower for about 8 minutes in duration, and they'll use about 17 gallons of water during that time. Now, if you're like most people that I know, they shower for a lot longer than an 8-minute shower. And so you can see how quickly that water consumption can rise, particularly if there's several people in the household. Now, prior to the 1980s, most shower heads actually used a lot of water, about 5 gallons per minute. In 1992, when the plumbing codes changed, that standard was reduced by about 50% to a 2.5 gallon per minute flow. Now, the WaterSense shower heads use 2 gallons per minute. So you're saving between the WaterSense and a standard shower head about a 20% savings. The consortium, our group, offers shower heads to customers for free. And these flow at 1.5 gallons per minute. Again, they're not WaterSense, but they are high efficiency. So again, for very little cost investment, $10 to $20 or free for shower heads, it's really worth checking out to see if your provider has these and to change them out. Because if your complex has shower heads that are old, say in the 80s, you're using twice as much water. And again, people take long showers traditionally, so it's a good investment and very low cost, if not free. So toilets, if you remember the graph, they're the highest water user in the household. They account for about 27% of the indoor water use. And boy, this is where we see some big differences. If you have toilets in your properties that are older, anywhere, and I'm saying from the 50s on to 1990, we actually do see those out there, believe it or not. These use a tremendous amount of water. They can flow from 3.5 to 5 or 7 gallons per flush. And again, it wasn't until early 1990 that toilets really changed. So the standard for toilets today are 1.6 gallons per flush, and that standard changed in 1992 when the plumbing codes changed. The WaterSense high-efficiency toilets are 1.28 gallons per flush. So you're off the top going to get a 20% more efficient rate by just switching to a WaterSense toilet. We estimate a family of 4, if they switch out their toilets to WaterSense toilets, will save about $90 a year in sewer and water bills. And if you consider the cost of toilets, high-efficiency toilets today, you can get a WaterSense toilet for anywhere from $150 to $200. The payback in that investment will be 2 years or less. So the other consideration, again, I can't emphasize this enough, is if your property has older toilets, it's really a good time to think about switching those out, because if they're flowing at a 3.5, a 5, or 7 gallons per flush, if you switch those out with a WaterSense toilet, you're going to save between 20 and 60% of the water used. Now, many of our water provider members offer rebates on toilets, and these range from $40 to $100. So again, go to our website, which is conserveh20.org. It will be at the end of my presentation. You can look up your water provider and find out if they do in fact offer rebates, how much those rebates are. If your property is located in the city of Portland, you might be interested to know that the City of Portland offers up to 10 toilets in their rebate program for multifamily properties. And these toilet rebates are $50 each. So it's a really good consideration to take advantage of a rebate program, and up to 10 is a nice savings. Okay, so switching quickly to outdoors, since many of you do have landscapes that you manage on those larger properties. Well, residential outdoor water use, particularly in the summertime, you can use a lot of water, as you probably know. Residential outdoor water use accounts for more than 7 billion gallons of water a day. 7 billion gallons of water a day. It's a lot of water. And this is mostly due to landscape irrigation. Of that, it's estimated that as much as 50% of the wasted water is caused by overwatering or inefficiencies in irrigation methods or the irrigation system itself. In 2006, WaterSense introduced their weather-based irrigation controllers. So they have labels on these controllers. And these work kind of like a thermostat for your sprinkler system. It basically tells the system when to turn the water on or off based on the weather and landscape conditions. And they tailor the weathering schedule according to the conditions on the site. Now, these do require regular maintenance and correct programming. You can't just set these and then walk away and forget about it for the whole summer. They have to be regularly programmed. The good news is if your property is located in Portland and you get your water from the City of Portland, or you are a recipient of the Tualatin Valley Water District water, both of these municipalities offer rebates for WaterSense weather-based irrigation controllers. So, if you're interested in looking into these, a good time to contact your local water provider and see what those rebates look like. Okay, switching back now to indoors, laundry, washing machines. Notice I've got the Energy Star title up on the top bar of the screen. For laundry, for washing machines, and for dishwashers, you will not find a WaterSense label on these appliances. You'll look for, rather, the Energy Star label, and that's because you're going to get significant water and energy savings if you purchase an Energy Star product. So if you remember from the graph, washing machines, laundry accounts for the second highest water user in the household, and it was 22% of indoor water use. Prior to 2007, so not that long ago, standard washers used anywhere from 40 to 60 gallons of water per load, a lot of water. The standard today is 23 gallons per load. And the Energy Star washing machines use 15 gallons per load. So if just by converting from a standard to an Energy Star washing machine, you're going to save 20% in energy costs and about 35% in water costs. So again, a really good time to look at the year that your washing machines, if you have them, are in your complexes, and consider, possibly tapping into a rebate or some of the incentive programs that Nick's going to talk about after my presentation. Some of our water providers offer Energy Star washing machine rebates, and those generally range from $50 to $75 per machine. So again, I encourage you to contact your local water provider and see if these are available. Dishwashers, again, Energy Star label because you're going to get significant energy and water savings. There will not be a WaterSense label on dishwashers. Interesting to note, though, in dishwashers, they don't really use too much water indoors. They're about 1.4% of the total water used. A standard dishwasher today uses about 6.5 gallons of water per load or less. An Energy Star dishwasher uses about 4.5 gallons of water per load or less. But again, the savings is going to be about 10% on energy costs and about 20% on your water costs. Now, it's interesting to note that dishwashers that were built before 1994, and if you have some of these older models in your complexes, again, these used about 10 gallons of water per load, so almost double the amount of water. So a good time to perhaps look at changing those out as well. Unfortunately, with respect to rebates, we do not have any water providers currently that offer dishwasher rebates. That may change. Okay, so on our website, we produced a brochure that is downloadable, and it's called Water Conservation Guide for Multifamily Property Managers. And we created a scenario, an example of a 25-unit property complex, and we wanted to demonstrate what kind of potential water and cost savings you could garner by replacing some really simple change-outs, and that would be faucet aerators. That would include kitchen and bathroom, shower heads, and toilets. And we use some of the conservation devices that we as the consortium and our members give out for free. And those are bathroom faucet aerators, and we use the example of a 1 gallon per minute flow. Kitchen faucet aerators, which we also give out for free, which is 1.5 gallon per minute, and high efficiency shower heads at 1.5 gallons per minute. So all of these devices that you see in the center of your screen, your provider members do give these out to customers. We also changed out the toilets from high water wasting toilets to a WaterSense high efficiency toilet. And so what's interesting is the brochure will give you the payback, the initial costs, and it will depend on what you decide to change out. If you just want to change all the toilets, or you want to do a combination of toilets and shower heads or aerators. But it gives you a really nice graph in the brochure on what your upfront cost would be, what your payback would be, what your water savings would be. And so I would encourage you to go to the website and download this, because it's a great example of what kinds of potential savings you will get, both in terms of water and dollar savings. Now, these savings obviously will depend on a variety of factors. It will be your property's baseline usage, obviously, what you choose to replace. Again, I mentioned you could change out all of the appliances or a few of those devices, your purchase and installation cost, and of course your property's water and sewer rates. So, obviously depending on where you live, those rates vary according to your water provider. But it's a great tool to access. On our website, we also offer a number of workshops that are available for you to review and perhaps sign up for. We do property manager workshops and maintenance manager workshops, as well as landscape workshops for your landscape professionals. As Beth had mentioned, we partner with Metro Multifamily, or Multifamily Northwest now rather, PGE, Energy, Trust, and to offer webinars and workshops and seminars such as the one we are on today for free. So I would encourage you to go to our website and sign up for information on the upcoming workshops, and we will send you that information directly via email. And then lastly, on our website, there is an area called water provider information. So, if you don't know who your water provider may be, or you're not quite sure, it will give you a listing, and you can identify them on the website and see if, in fact, they do offer conservation devices or the rebates, as I mentioned. And many of those providers also offer on-site assistance. They may be willing to come out or talk to you directly on the phone regarding your indoor water consumption or your outdoor landscape water consumption. There's a variety of resources for indoors and outdoors on our website, as well as how-to videos from how to identify if you have a toilet leak to what a water-wise garden looks like, and then just a plethora of conservation information. So I'd like to close with that and give you my contact information. Again, my name is Lindsay Berman. I'm with the Regional Water Providers Consortium. Feel free to contact me directly. There's my phone number or my email address. And then obviously the resources that I referenced this afternoon in my presentation, the Regional Water Provider Consortium website, Energy Star website, and of course the WaterSense website. So I'm going to now pass you to Nick, who's going to talk about further incentives with the Energy Trust programs. So Nick?
Thanks, Lindsay. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nick Michelle. I work for Energy Trust of Oregon's existing multifamily program. And I briefly want to talk to you about Energy Trust, who we are, kind of what we do, and then talk to you about some of the incentives and services that we offer you. So to get into this, what is Energy Trust? We're an independent nonprofit organization dedicated to energy efficiency and clean renewable energy production in Oregon. We started about 10 and a half years ago, approximately, and represent 4 major utilities here in Oregon. That would be Portland General Electric, Pacific Power, Northwest Natural, and Cascade Natural Gas. And we offer a variety of cash incentives, along with different services to all multifamily properties. So who's eligible for incentives? Oregon customers of Portland General Electric, Pacific Power, Northwest Natural, and Cascade Natural Gas. The customers have to pay or plan to pay the public purpose charge, and our multifamily program is defined as existing properties that have 2 or more units per building. That also includes assisted living, retirement facilities, on-campus, off-campus dormitories, as well as sororities and fraternities, and also condominiums that are represented by the HOA or the board. So a pretty broad, wide group of properties and facilities there. But it's more important to take note of how we qualify these properties and also realize this only applies to properties in Oregon. There are a few properties that fall in Washington in the Northwest Natural area that unfortunately we can't service through our program. So going on, typical multifamily energy expenses. This graph right here, Lindsay had a really nice graph earlier on water. This one speaks more to the energy side of a typical unit. And as you can see, a big chunk of it is taken over by space heating, appliances, and water heating, those big 3. So today we're really addressing the appliances side, but realize as you go through and make improvements to your property, those are 3 key areas to really focus a lot of your time and effort on, is trying to make those much more energy efficient. So what is Energy Star? I know Lindsay spoke about it earlier, but there was a joint program between the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Energy. And everybody knows these nice blue labels over here. We've all seen them, along with the yellow energy guide on appliances like water heaters or refrigerators, things like that. Products must be at least 10% more efficient than federal standards. And typically it's 20 to 40%. That's kind of the standard. They're identified, of course, by the blue logo or the yellow energy guide on HVAC products. We use the Energy Star, as a guideline for our program. There may be other additional requirements that we have, but we like to use that as kind of a baseline to start from. So Energy Trust offers cash incentives. Getting into that, like refrigerators, is a pretty common one. Most Energy Star rated models may use up to 15% less energy than standard models. Now, if you're going back, say, 15, 20 years, that could be 20, 25% or more, depending upon the condition of the existing refrigerator and how old it is. Frequently, when we're out in the market, most refrigerators we find are 10 plus years old. So, it definitely stands reason that the energy savings could be a lot higher than 15%. So to move to that Energy Star rated model, we offer $50 per unit, per qualifying unit. So every qualifying unit has to be an active Energy Star list qualified refrigerator. And going from a standard refrigerator to an Energy Star qualifying refrigerator, the cost difference usually is about $50, right where our incentive falls. That's not always the case, but a lot of times it is. The units look the same, they operate the same, obviously. There's just some energy consumption differences there, and hopefully our incentive gets you to that point where it's almost a wash. Dishwashers, that's another one. Energy efficient models use less energy and water than standard models. I think it kind of goes without saying. But in this case, I know Lindsay mentioned it earlier, it's not a huge consumer of water necessarily, but it is definitely a user of energy. And it's something that is run usually once or twice a week. And our incentive is $25 per unit, and it applies to in-unit dishwashers only. Unfortunately, common area units that might fall into maybe a clubhouse or a central area don't qualify, unfortunately. Now, this is one of those instances where we use Energy Star as a baseline, but we also add a caveat to that. And what that is that it has to be 268 kilowatt hours per year or less as far as the consumption as rated by Energy Star. So when you go to the Energy Star website and you look under dishwashers, it will tell you exactly how much energy that dishwasher uses. clothes washers. This is a big one because what we're finding is, most of the time, especially common area clothes washers, the energy and the water is paid for by the ownership. So, not only can you save a bunch of energy, 20% or more, but you also would save a tremendous amount of water, 35% or more, depending upon the age of the unit. And as Lindsay pointed out earlier, before 2007, these models were using 40, 50, 60 gallons of water per load in a standard machine. You go to a high efficiency unit, you're cutting that water consumption nearly in half. And that's every load, every day. So, that adds up pretty quickly over time. So what we're doing is we're incentivizing not only the common area washing machines, but also the in-unit washing machines. So for a commercial grade common area washer, if the water is heated with electricity, it's a $300 per unit incentive. If it's heated by gas, it's a $200 per unit incentive. And the ratings we use are what's called MEF, or Modified Energy Factor, and WF, Water Factor. Both of those ratings are very common in this industry. So they're industry terms. You can find them in almost every spec sheet for every washer out there. So those are the ratings we're looking for. For in-unit, it doesn't matter if it's heated with electricity or gas, the hot water, it's always $150 per qualifying unit. And the Modified Energy Factor has to be 2.2 or greater. Now, frequently when we're out there, we find that, especially the common area washers in like a centralized laundry area, those machines are leased. And we definitely still incentivize people moving to high efficiency units even if they're leased. So as long as the lease is a 7-year lease on the machine, we will provide you with either a $300 or $200 incentive to move that leased standard washing machine to a high efficiency washing machine. So it definitely, either way, it will work. Bath fans. This is one that definitely gets overlooked. Energy Star rated models may use up to 70% less energy than standard models, and we give you $25 per qualifying unit. And what's key about this is that frequently what we're finding in the market is that these fans have been in place for 20, 30 years. They've probably been repaired multiple times, and just over time, the quality of the fan, what it's actually doing is reduced quite a bit, and the life expectancy of the unit itself has been exceeded tremendously. So what we're looking at is trying to get people to move to more of these Energy Star rated models. Now, there's a few requirements that we have to qualify for incentive. One, the fan that's being replaced, the existing fan, must have a light in it. That can be a heat lamp or a regular light, but it must have a contain a light actually in the fan itself. Going to the new fan, it cannot have a light. We're finding that most of the time the vanity lights in bathrooms suffice, so we don't want to have a light in the new one. And then they must meet Energy Star requirements and have an efficiency of 5.3 cubic feet per minute per watt or higher. CFM per W or per watt is a pretty common specification you find in the industry. So again, all spec sheets on fans will have this rating. And there are quite a few Energy Star rated fans out there now. Most of the major manufacturers produce one that qualifies for the program. So going from an inefficient one to a new efficient one is definitely easy to do. It's not a high cost proposition, and we're providing a $25 incentive per unit. So definitely something to consider. Other incentives, things that maybe fall outside of the purview of appliances. Besides water heaters, we do heat pumps, whether that's a ductless heat pump or a standard heat pump, PTAC units, gas furnaces, AC units, weatherization, insulation windows, very common, very popular on the market. A lot of people are doing those projects, and we definitely incentivize those. Common area lighting, that's a big one. There's obviously a lot of money spent, especially by ownership, to pay for the common area lighting, security lighting that might be in place. We definitely heavily incentivize people to move their common area lighting that's inefficient to more efficient sources like CFL, LED, things of that nature. Solar, of course, is still a big part of it, water and PV, which is photovoltaic, electric, and then custom projects. In custom projects, there's rare instances where you might have an improvement that falls outside of, say, a standard everyday improvement, say a new refrigerator or a new window or what have you. So in those certain situations, we'll bring in outside resources to evaluate what that improvement might be. Say it's a new, control on a central heating system. We'll evaluate to see how much energy that's saving and then assign a custom incentive, so to speak, to that project. So how do I take advantage? So the first thing that you should do is definitely check with the program and make sure your property and the product you're going to install qualifies for an incentive. We want to make sure that the products and the projects that you're undertaking qualify for our program, the last thing we want to do is have you go through the process of purchasing, say, a refrigerator, putting it in, and then contacting us to apply for the incentive and find out the unit you bought didn't qualify. So always, give us a call. We're a great resource. We're always available to you, and I'm happy to answer any of those kinds of questions. So start with that. The second part, install the product, and then once you've installed the product, fill out and submit an application with a paid in full invoice and a W-9 within 90 days of purchase. Once we receive that, we'll cut you an incentive check, an actual check, 6 to 8 weeks later. So it's a pretty straightforward process. Try to make it as simple as possible for you guys to take advantage of this program. Buy-down programs is something that's very unique to the market and definitely just came online in the last year. What we're doing is allowing local distributors to, a select few distributors, I should say, offer basically incentive up front for refrigerators and clothes washers. So you go to buy a new refrigerator from, say, HD Supply. They're able to give you $50 off the purchase price at the time of purchase. So there's no application needed. It makes participation in the program much easier, and the whole process is simplified. So refrigerators, GNC Distributing, HD Supply, and North Pacific Supply are the participating distributors. And then on the clothes washer side, currently it's North Pacific Supply is participating in that. So it's pretty nice, and it makes the whole process easier for you guys to get involved with. The difference, like I said before, the difference between a standard model and an Energy Star model may be covered by the incentive a lot of times, and especially that is the case for refrigerators. We're finding it's very close. So additional program services, a couple things to mention. Lindsay had talked about the free shower heads and aerators that the Water Consortium gives out. We kind of have a similar service. We include compact fluorescent lights as well. And we actually have a team that will come out and install all of these devices in each qualifying unit at no cost. So just a different avenue to take. It's either one. You can take advantage of either one of these services, but we're including the lighting as well, and it's something that definitely has been a huge success in the market. And we have a very professional team that goes out and does this service. The other part of it is the walkthrough survey, and the walkthrough survey is again another no-cost service. And we go out and do a complete survey of the entire property. So we come out, look over the property, go into the units, go outside. It takes about 35, 40 minutes somewhere in that neighborhood to really determine, okay, what do you exactly have? Here are the recommendations of what you can do as far as energy efficiency improvements, and here's the money we have available for you. We put all of that stuff into a report for you, so that it acts as a roadmap for improvement. So down the road, when you're ready to make an improvement, you can go back to this report and refer to it, say, okay, how much money will I get for replacing all of my refrigerators or all of my windows or what it may be. So contacting us, here's my contact information, and I strongly encourage you guys to go to energytrust.org/multifamily to really, there's a lot more information obviously on the website. There's case studies, there's different things you guys can take a look at to learn more about energy efficiency. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Isaiah, and Isaiah, take it away.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you handing it over, and that was some great information. Thank you. As Beth mentioned earlier, I work for Portland General Electric. I work in the business model and program development area, and Beth mentioned demand response. That may not be a term you're familiar with, so I'll touch on that in a couple minutes when I'm talking about kind of why I'm interested in what I'm about to show you. But really, I just wanted to participate today to give you guys a look at a technology that we've been looking at in my department that we see a lot of potential for, both for our customers and for the system as a whole. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to walk you through the technology. It's a water heater. I'm going to explain to you what it does for customers, both being yourself as landlords or property managers, also your tenants or whoever's in a home, but then also what might the potential for this technology be. So this will be a short, little quick briefing just to give you a heads up about this technology. So what is it? In the past, your water heater was a really simple device. There was a thermostat on it, 2 heating elements inside. As technology has gotten better or more advanced, we see that they are now putting circuitry inside water heaters. So you'll see right there, there's a screen. I drew a circle around it on the presentation. And behind that is, like most things now, some circuitry. What that circuitry does, though, is it allows for, I'll move on to my next slide, it does several things now. Whereas in the past, you were kind of at your own discretion to set the thermostat. Let's say if you left for vacation, you didn't want it to be heating to the same degree that it was heating the whole time you're home, you would have to go out and turn the thermostat down on the elements. Well, now there's preset settings within that circuitry. This product is available at Lowe's to buy today, and within that circuitry, you have the setting of vacation, energy smart, or what I'd label business as usual. Obviously, vacation, there's logic behind that to allow you to leave the home for a while and it doesn't heat to the same degree it does when you're there, and so there's potential savings there. Then the energy smart also gives you, or the tenant, the ability to say, you know, I don't have a large family, I can run the water heater less frequently. Or there's the business as usual, where it's we have 4 kids. Now, from a property manager, you might be asking, yeah, how does that help? Well, let's say the tenant moves out or the unit is empty. You might want to go in at that time to save on your energy bills and set the water heater to vacation mode while no one is in the unit. Also, the thing that your property manager might really, or your facility manager might really appreciate is that screen also has diagnostics, whereas before you got the call that, hey, the water heater is on the fritz, I have no idea what's wrong with this thing. And you had to go out and determine, is it just a little thermostat? Do I need to replace that? Is it one of the elements, or is the tank leaking? Now there's actually a diagnostic on the machine that will help you with that decision. So these are 2 value adds that are available now if you went and bought this unit at Lowe's. Now, in the future, what we see, if I go back to the previous slide, is there's a port on top of the water heater, circling it now. All that is a input into the circuitry, and command signals can be sent through that. So if you could design, or likely in your guys' case, purchase a unit that could receive signals that say, hey, you know what, set this unit to vacation mode at this time, no one's in the unit, you may be able to communicate to these units without even leaving your office. That sounds pretty pie in the sky, but actually if you went to the Lowe's site and looked up the IRIS, I-R-I-S, they're already promoting that they are going to release a unit to plug into these water heaters later this year. It's not that pie in the sky. They're actively marketing a piece that can plug into that, receive a broadband signal. It's more for the customer at this point, where it's a home energy management tool where they can have that connected with their thermostat and a home occupancy sensor that they can control from their smartphone. But that same technology can later be used for property managers. Let's say you have that communication on the port. You can say, hey, no one's in the unit, let's set it to vacation mode. We save on energy while no one's out there. Also, it should be able to report back to you in the future the diagnostics on that. You may be able to beat a customer to knowing that there's an issue with the water heater. And then why am I interested? Why is Portland General here telling you about water heaters? Well, demand response, which Beth mentioned earlier that I work specifically on, is about reducing peak demand. And the way I generally tell my friends about this is consider a highway. You build them for 5 lanes for rush hour. People are okay with highways being congested, but no one is okay with power being not available. The quality always has to remain the same. So PGE essentially builds our lines for those peak demand times, those peak traffic times, to meet the max. Well, if we can shift the max, even out the traffic so it's more used all throughout the day, then we don't have to build quite as much, and it actually offers our customers greater value because then your rates stay lower. So we're looking at discretionary loads that could possibly be shifted away from those peak times. Water heaters are prime because they essentially are a battery. Unless you have a large family, for those couple hours that are peak, you're not likely to burn through your hot water in those times. So those customers might be able to participate in future demand response programs that incorporate this technology, where we just send them something out that says, thanks for participating. We're going to be giving you a bill credit of this much per month, please go plug in this communicator that'll tell your water heater during the peak times, 5 to 7 in the evenings, weekdays, et cetera. I'm just throwing these out as examples that, hey, please shift heating away from there to times that aren't peak. But that's in the future. This technology is rather new. We just saw it hit the marketplace last year, so there's not enough customers for us to have a pilot yet. But we are excited about it, and we wanted to tell you guys about it to give you a heads up that this is available. It has immediate benefits to you, and we also see future benefits both in the forms of perhaps you would communicate with it, or perhaps your tenants could help make the grid just even more reliable and robust, that kind of smart grid that you keep hearing about. That's all from me. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Beth to kind of walk us through any questions you might have had and to just wrap up the presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Isaiah, and thank you to Lindsay and Nick as well. We want to remind you of the upcoming Energy and Water Savings educational series, the remaining events. And next, actually tomorrow, we have the Irrigation Trends and Technology Seminar. And next week, we have investment strategies and energy benchmarking that Nick will actually be presenting on March the 27th. Both are luncheon seminars, so we encourage you to participate in those if you'd like. Before we proceed to the question and answer portion of our webinar, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to the feedback survey, which I should just have opened here on the bottom right-hand portion of your screen. We really value your feedback and hope that you can take a few minutes to fill out the survey for us. We use the information to improve future webinars. And now I'd like to proceed to the question and answer portion. And it looks like the first question I have here probably should be directed to Lindsay. And that question is, can property managers take advantage of rebates offered by ETO and the consortium water providers? Is there a limit to the number of rebates one can take advantage of?
Yes, so you can actually bundle these rebates, but as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, it's important that you contact your local water provider because depending on where you reside, those rebates offered by consortium water provider members can vary by the type of rebates offered, the amount of the rebate, and the number offered as well. So again, always contact your local water provider directly to see what types of rebates they're offering. In terms of bundling the incentives between Energy Trust of Oregon and the consortium, you can do that, and it's, you know, if you do it right, you can get a pretty good return on those. So I would encourage you to take advantage of those.
Thanks, Lindsay. And I think the next question we have is maybe should be directed to Isaiah. Isaiah, where can I buy one of those water heaters? And are there incentives available for that one?
I'm sorry, Beth, I didn't hear the second half, but on the first half, these water heaters are now available at just your common retail places. We know, actually, the end slide of my deck shows a couple of links. I think Beth's going to send them out to the actual water heater at Lowe's, so you'll be able to go there, see that, and that link also has videos talking all about the circuitry and the LED display and how you can access it. And it's, if you really want to know more about it, it's a great resource. So just go ahead and click there, and you can check it out, and it's available now.
Great, Isaiah. And I think the question was, were there any incentives? But
oh, the incentives. Sorry, I thought you asked, can you buy these now and where? Yes, there are. Nick tells me that due to the actually, I might just redirect. Nick's really the expert on incentives. So, Nick, would you mind taking that one?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so the water heater you were talking about earlier, I believe, has an energy factor rating of above 0.93. And the way our incentive breaks down is we give $35 for electric water heaters that have an energy factor of 0.93 or higher. And then if it has an energy factor of 0.94 or higher and a 20-year warranty, we provide $75. So, and I believe this model is a 0.94 or 0.95, so it definitely will qualify for an incentive.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Nick and Isaiah. I have another question here that actually is probably best directed to Nick. And my property receives its power from a utility not covered by the Energy Trust. What options might be available to me?
Yeah, that's a good question, Beth. We frequently find that there are many properties out there, maybe in Eugene, or it might be out on the eastern side of the state, that just don't have the service from the 4 qualifying utilities. So our recommendation is there's many times the local PUD or local utility, local co-op, whatever it might be, definitely has incentives that try at least to mimic a lot of what we're doing already in the marketplace. So, I would check with your local provider and go that route. And then, of course, always check with the state to find out if there might be some kind of like tax credit program available to help you go through that energy improvement.
Thanks, Nick. And it looks like I have one more question here. I'm not sure if this is for Nick or for Lindsay, but maybe you both can chime in. Do common area laundry areas save more water than tenant in-unit machines?
Okay, so this is a really interesting question, and Nick, you may have more information on this than I do, but I did a little research on this and there appeared to be some conflicting research regarding common area versus in-unit washers. The assumption is that in-unit washers you do more loads because you have a smaller washer size. You have the ability to just do a lot more loads. It's just the convenience of it. The other consideration is tenants aren't paying for that water, so there's really no incentive to save. So while the washers themselves are smaller, again, the tendency is to do more laundry, but then there's been some other studies that have been conflicting to this, and those have shown that where in-unit washers are not offered and only common area washers are available to residents, that the residents tend to use off-site laundry facilities as much as half of all their laundry. And this can be due to a number of factors. It could be it's cheaper to go off-site, perhaps the off-site laundromat is cleaner, or it's safer, or there's more machines, or maybe the machines are more updated or current. So I don't know, Nick, maybe you can give your opinion here, but I wasn't able to find any conclusive data to date on this. What do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of an anecdotal kind of thing. From what we've seen in the market, if you've got a situation where both in-unit washers and common area washers are available, most of the time people, if you're talking about water consumption, strictly water consumption, it seems to be that in-units use more water. And that's because, again, they don't have to pay that $1 or $1.25 at the time to do a load. So they'll just do incomplete loads, they'll do more frequent loads. Whereas if they've got to carry all their stuff down to the common area, machines and pay for it and all that kind of stuff, they seem to do full loads and a lot less of them. So from a water consumption standpoint, in unit seems to be a little bit higher.
Thanks, Nick and Lindsay. I think we have time for just one more question here. This is probably a question for Nick. Do I have to use an approved Energy Trust contractor to receive the incentive, or can the work be done by my maintenance staff?
That's a great question, Beth. The answer is no. You don't have to use an Energy Trust trade ally. Trade allies are contractors that have gone through our program. They're approved by us. And we always encourage people to use Energy Trust trade allies for any project they may be doing. But our program doesn't require you to use those to receive the incentive. Your own maintenance staff can do the work. You can have another contractor that might not be a trade ally do the work and still receive the incentive. We're more concerned about the work being done correctly, following codes, meeting our expectations. So that's our take on that issue.
Thanks, Nick, and I'd like to thank all the presenters, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today. We're going to stay online for a little bit in case any of you would like to ask any additional questions, but thank you again, and we hope to see you again at a future webinar. Thanks.